I'm Kristen.
And I'm Maddie.
We're sisters and heavy readers.
Join us every single week to talk stories, interview authors, and collab with fellow book nerds.
Welcome to the Kristen Mad Show. Welcome back to the show, you guys. We have a really special episode for you today because we're hanging out with our good friend, Thomas Weaver, who is a best-selling author of Artificial Wisdom. About a year ago, he had released this book, indie published, and it quickly became a bestseller on Amazon. So this year, as he is now traditionally published, in honor of that, we decided to have a conversation talking about his book and also the sequel that will be coming out soon.
As a special treat here during release week, Tom is going to be giving away 5 copies of the beautiful UK edition, and he will be signing these. So if you would like to enter to win, all you have to do is down below in the comments, tell us, who would you elect for a global protector? A veteran U.S. president with a good track record, or the wild card new idea, Solomon, an AI intelligence with no loyalty to any specific country, just a mandate to protect mankind from the climate crisis. So below, tell us who you'd vote for, Lockwood, the U.S. president, or Solomon, the AI. And we will be picking 5 winners for that giveaway, and we love this fun UK edition, but this episode is really all about celebrating the release of the US edition today, and we are so excited for Tom. We are so excited to celebrate with him, and we can't wait to share this episode with you.
You guys know what to do. If you are watching this somewhere where you can like and subscribe and leave a comment, you have to leave a comment because you want one of these signed books. But also, if you are listening somewhere where you can rate and review and follow us, it means the world to us. We love being in the top 10 of books on podcasts, and that's always our goal. So help us out and enjoy this conversation. It was a good time.
Welcome to Tom. Today is his release day, his traditional release here in the U.S. for Artificial Wisdom. It's right here! If we have anything to say about it, and you all have anything to say about it, when the results and numbers come out at the end of the week, this will be a bestseller. Yes. That's the goal. That's the plan.
Of course.
So far, we're doing very well. I believe sales are doing very well. If the comments on Patreon tell us anything, we're so excited. You guys are so powerful. And we are so excited to celebrate today. That's really what today is, just a party to celebrate and catch up with Tom on everything that's happened in the last year.
How are you feeling today, Tom? Like any jitters? Or are you like, here we go again?
Well, no, I'm feeling stressed out because clearly none of the technology works. And like, not just TikTok, everything I have tried in the last hour has failed on me, which I think is a great metaphor for the technological world that we're in today, where you think it's all going to be okay, but actually things fail at the last minute. So
yes, we somehow just pivot and as much as we have to until things work out. But are you feeling nervous? Or are you feeling excited?
I'm feeling very excited. I don't feel it would be impossible to feel nervous. I mean, there's nothing to feel nervous about. It's been so incredible just getting to this point, and I'm unbelievably just delighted and kind of honored and a little bit still blown away. I mean, even, you know, it's been a year now knowing that this has been coming, and I'll never stop feeling a little bit like, did this really all happen? Do I have to pinch myself a few times?
Yeah. We should go back. For those of you who want to take the walk down memory lane with us because you were there. And for those who are just discovering Artificial Wisdom now and want to kind of hear the backstory of the Tom, Kristen, Maddie trio. Basically, in 2024, in the spring, Kristen was on her way to France, which is kind of coincidental because Tom is married to a French woman. But anyways, we digress. Kristen was on her way to France, and this lovely little agency reached out to us and said, hey, we see you guys are loving techno thrillers. We had just read Blake Crouch and were raving about it.
Yeah, we were in I feel like a techno thriller era where it was like my first time ever. And Maddie, I think you were going back to an old love. We were like, man, these books are really gripping. Like, this is fun.
Yeah, it felt like all the books we grew up reading with our dad. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, yes, like if we have faith. Well, also they sent a photo of the cover. I feel like I should grab it. It's stunning.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar, but we saw the cover and there was like a blurb that told us what the book was about. And we were both like, I mean, it's a hell yeah for me. Is it a hell yeah for you? Look, it's a hell yeah. Right.
We were so like intrigued from the jump. So we pulled this book. We got this book. Kristen took it with her to France. I read it in a day. Absolutely obsessed. And I was texting Kristen, like, have you read it yet? Like, I need to discuss the end.
But we're
right
on like
now.
a different like time zone. So I was just like, Maddie, I was asleep when you texted me that, but I was up reading.
Yeah.
Just so good. Reading it on a train, reading it on a plane, reading it everywhere. And I think that, you know, we're so used to as readers, like we get really obsessed with books, but authors kind of feel like untouchable. Like it's sometimes hard to feel like there's access to your authors. And because Tom was indie published, you know, he's not all over the internet, or maybe you're hidden under some alias, but we couldn't really find you. And,
but as soon as we posted the video, I feel like we connected with Tom really, really quickly.
yeah.
And then, once we were connected, I believe Fable had reached out to you, Tom, about like, would you maybe like to circulate Artificial Wisdom on the Fable app? And you knew we were on Fable. So then you and I just hopped on a call to talk about Fable. And that's when we got the idea of like, no, don't circulate it through Fable. Like, let's just do a book club for Artificial Wisdom with the Sisterhood. And the Sisterhood single-handedly, I think, made Artificial Wisdom an Amazon bestseller that week.
Yeah, it went straight up the charts like nothing else. It was just astonishing. I was walking around my house with my phone in my hand, just unable to stop refreshing and seeing what the latest ranking was. And I had my father somewhere else, like also obsessively doing the same, you know, occasionally sending me updates. Hey, did you see it's gone up 3, places or 2 places or whatever?
So excited. We were riding the high with you. We were like, and the Sisterhood was loving it. And I think people still in our Patreon now, because we've since moved the book club to Patreon, members who did that book club with us still talk about it.
Still talk about
peak reading with a book club ever, because we were so engaged with every reader's comment. You shared so much bonus content with us.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's the best. So at any rate, I think, why don't you take over the story from there, Tom? Because we did the book club with you. I got to come meet you in England. That was a special memory for me, Mitch and I getting to have dinner with you. But then I think once it was a bestseller and once you had kind of the threshold of reviews that you were aiming for, that's when you went for an agent, correct?
Yeah, I'd made some decisions along the way, which were both great decisions and hard decisions. One of those was I wanted to produce a really beautiful edition of the book. I had decided not to publish on demand, which a lot of people do, and it's fantastic. What an amazing tool that we have. But I had gone for printing it properly. I'd gone for an offset printing, and it was being distributed through warehouses, through suppliers in the UK and the US, which was really, really challenging. And I kind of reached a stage which was unbelievable, but I'd reached that stage where because of you guys, we couldn't print enough fast enough to meet the demand. And we were kind of having, I was getting notifications from the warehouse that, a new pallet of books had arrived, and then a day later going, and we sold out. And it takes 6 weeks to print new books and 2 weeks to ship them. And I was all pulled up in all these different directions about, how many books do I want to ship by airplane versus boat? I'm like, no. This is now too hard. It was a very strange period, because it had been this incredible summer, and I'd pretty much spent the entire month of June on the Fable app. I literally did pretty much nothing else all day apart from engage with comments and watch what people were saying, and it was just amazing. We kind of came out the other side of it, and it did feel like things were sort of dipping a little bit. It was like, okay, as is normal, these things burn out a little bit. I'm like, okay, what's next? How do I keep this going? What do I do? And I think, this is always the case with the kind of entrepreneurial journey, is you have this kind of roller coaster ride, and you're sat there going, I don't know what's next. And so I'd gone down the gym, I think, and I was walking around, the steam room. I like to walk in the steam room, especially when there's nobody there. And I suddenly went, I need to find an agent. I need to figure this out. This is what I need to do next. And so I went home and I literally researched which agents have taken people from self-published to traditional. And the best example I could find was Andy Weir. And, Andy Weir, who did The Martian, was very famously selling very well in his first week.
Yeah,
I think the trailer for Project Hail Mary, his book, has literally like broken all the records and the internet in the last week. So I would say Andy Weir has done very well moving
He's
from.
done very well for himself. He was doing very well even as a self-published author because he built up a community over time. But I found just this obscure internet article talking about how an agent called David had taken Andy from being self-published to being traditionally published. And so I was like, I'm going to query him. And I wrote it in a very different way. You know, there's a way to write book queries, but I'm an entrepreneur. I built and sold a business, and I wrote like I was writing to a venture capitalist. You're trying to raise money. You don't talk about the product first. You talk about the traction. So I talked a lot about, look, here's what TikTok has looked like, the past month. Here's a month-on-month growth in TikTok, Goodreads reviews and sales. And here's what the book about. And, I sent it off, and I'd had loads of agent rejections first time round. I mean, I tried to get this book out once before and I'd kind of given up. I don't know if I ever told you that, but I'd probably gone for about 50 agent rejections the first time I did this. So I wasn't super excited about going down the agent route again, but I did. And within 24 hours, I'd heard back from David, which is astonishing if anybody knows anything about submitting to agents. And the thing that really did it for me was that he was a massive fan of Stephen Paisley, who was my narrator, the narrator of the Blade itself. And so 48 hours later, we had a deal. I'd signed the paper and we had a deal. It was a little bit tricky because it was the summer, but the publishing world goes away during the summer. So he was like, look, I want to set your expectations. I'm going to put this out to like a few different publishing houses, but it's the summer and, people aren't generally there. But a few weeks later, we had what's called a preempt offer from Del Rey. And the preempt means they're getting in before anybody else, to take it off the table because they're so excited about the book. And this particular editor she was wonderful, and I was able to meet her. She, Anne is just astonishing to work with, and she edits for some unbelievable names, you could reel off a list and you're like, these are some of my favorite authors. She's edited for George R.R. Martin, for Terry Brooks, who was my first ever fantasy read. She edits for a load of top sci-fi authors, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So of course we did the deal, a 2-book deal, and that was the start of it all. And it was a real kind of, pinch me moment.
That was amazing to see happen. We were first of all, because we were dying for a book 2, and you hadn't exactly promised a book 2 unless book 1 performed, because I know you were working on Futility Town at that time, which is your other book. And so I was like, oh, I really need book 2 of Artificial Wisdom, like really that. And so when we knew that the publishers had bought you for 2 books, we were like, oh good, we're going to get it for sure.
Yeah, it was the first moment I could really be sure this was something. Unfortunately, I'd done a few years of thinking by that point about what I wanted to write, because I then had a deadline, and we were signing a year and a bit ago. And my deadline is just coming up. It's the 15th of September, 2025 to submit the sequel deadline. So I had to put down everything.
Yeah.
Everything I was currently doing and just go straight for starting to write, because it took me several years to write Artificial Wisdom. So to turn it around in a short amount of time was suddenly going from 0 to 100.
Yeah. So tell us how it's been. I mean, we kind of know, but tell everyone how it's been from like you signed your deal. Yeah. I mean, we now know you've written the sequel twice over at this point. Like, tell us, what have the last 9 months been like?
A real whirlwind. And I think, again, with all these things, there are highs and lows. I think some of the highs definitely included starting to sell the rights. That was very exciting. So the first deal that came up literally within weeks of selling the US rights was the UK rights. And the way that it works for us is we sold the rights to Penguin Random House, Del Rey, in the US, but they act as the global rights holder, and they'll use their clout to go and pull in other people. And the first offer that we had through was the UK. And this was crazy to me, because it was literally one of those things where I was sat here working away and suddenly got an email through going, hey, are you free to jump on like 2 calls for the next 2 hours? We've got 2 different imprints of Penguin Random House UK that want to pitch you. And I'm like, what? And suddenly you get this email through, and the whole situation is reversed. You've spent all these years trying to get an agent, trying to get a publisher, trying to get it out there. And suddenly there were 2 presentations sat in my inbox from 2 different imprints in the UK, both saying why they should be the ones to publish it. And both of them were incredible. And, I then had 2 amazing calls with 2 unbelievable editors, and probably the hardest weekend of thinking that I've had to do for a long time, because both of them were just, an astonishing, partners to work with.
Yeah.
And eventually I chose Bantam Transworld in the UK because they had a vision which said, Thorne, who was the editor who required it, she was wonderful. She was very straight. She was like, I absolutely love the book. I've got loads of ideas for this one. I really want to be there, edit it, but I want to do it like this. I think that Del Rey are an incredible partner for reaching out to the science fiction and fantasy world. I think this book is bigger than just science fiction. I think this is a thriller that has the scale to be the kind of stuff that we launch here in the UK. We do Terry Hayes, Iron Pilgrim. We do Jack Reacher. We do, Life and Chemistry. Like, we do big releases that transcend genre, and we want it to be our lead title for that. And that was a very compelling vision to me, because I didn't, I do think that this is a great book for people that love science fiction, but I've also seen it always as a book that is maybe for people that never read science fiction, that are put off by science fiction, or see it as, aliens and spaceships, and want to engage a little bit with the future, but in a safe way. Mm-hmm. And so that was a very, very powerful thing. And then to be going through that then with 2 publishers, 2 wonderful editors, Thorne and Anne, working closely with me through that revision process, because then it was like, okay, I'm writing the sequel, but we also need to do a new edit of Artificial Wisdom at the same time.
Yeah.
What do I want to change? Which is, that's quite a starting point.
Well, there are some comments coming in about like, oh, should I read the indie version first or the trad version? So, can you tell us a little bit about what you did change? And then maybe for those who are here who haven't been along for the whole journey, give us your little pitch of what is Artificial Wisdom and who should read it.
Let me give you the pitch first. So Artificial Wisdom, I like to call a murder mystery techno thriller. But it is a story about an investigative journalist called Marcus Tully, and set in the year 2050. And Tully has received a tip that a heatwave disaster 10 years before that killed his wife may not have been a natural disaster after all. It might have been engineered. This kind of idea that somebody might have burned one country in order to save another. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the world is trying to elect a global leader for the very first time ever to take on the worsening climate crisis. And the 2 final candidates are the former US president, who happens to be the man that he's accusing of potentially engineering this disaster, and the world's first political artificial intellect, Solomon. And then Solomon's creator is killed, and Tully's pulled into the middle of both a conspiracy theory, conspiracy mystery, and a murder, and has to figure out what's really going on here. So it's, I like to say it's a book that is very full of mystery, twists and turns. That was the kind of thing I was aiming for when writing it. We talk about it on the trailers being a mixture of kind of a girl with a dragon tattoo style kind of murder mystery wrapped in a thriller, but with the more global stakes for something like I Am Pilgrim, and obviously with a much more speculative air. For people, as you said, Maddie, in your very first review of it ever, it's for people that like things like Dark Matter by Blake Crouch.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the most surprising things when people pick up your book is, you might go in thinking you're reading a specific genre. I kind of like to know a little bit about what I'm getting into, but I feel like even though I had read the synopsis and I I felt like I really knew what I was getting into, it really threw me. And there's something about when your brain gets to do those Olympic cartwheels in your brain, and you're just like, what is up and what is down? Everything I thought I knew, it just keeps changing. It's just great as a reader. It's just to read something that feels fresh and exciting. I've been telling the people on our Patreon or anybody I meet when I talk about your book that this is literally a book for pretty much anyone that is old enough to read it, because it definitely can be intense, but it's just so for such a huge audience. So if you're listening to this now and you're like, I wonder if this is for me, Kristen's answer is yes. It's just yes, because if you like a whodunit, if you like Agatha Christie, if you like Blake Crouch, you'll love it. But also if you just like something that's going to make you think and something that's unpredictable and you want something fresh that doesn't feel like a rinse and repeat of a lot of stories you've already read, this is about as fresh as it gets. I mean, me and Maddie like still talk about it all the time.
The end is just so insane, but you told us that that's the end is the part that you kind of wanted to tweak or expand when you went and tried. So what did you change from the original copy to what people can buy today in stores?
Yeah, I mean, what an unbelievable privilege to be able to actually look at reviews of your own book and then make changes. I mean, not many people ever get to do that. Although I, you know, as with most writers, you don't read too many reviews because it can really get in your head. But I was very aware that I'd tried to achieve a certain thing within the indie version, which is almost a bit of a mic drop twist and then kind of walk away.
You achieved that. Yes, you achieved it.
I achieved it, and some people loved it, and some people felt that it was, they weren't left with enough time to digest it. And I could particularly see this in the Fable book club that we did with you guys, with the Sisterhood. And I mean, imagine that I spent a month of my life watching people in real time comment on every single chapter of the story and have their theories and in some cases spot things that were mistakes, which was very useful because I could go and correct those. But I was very clear for me that the ending needed just a little bit of leveling out, a little bit more time spent with some of the characters digesting what the hell was going on, because, you know, it is a series of kind of twists and turns that lead up to that point. A lot of people have their theories and most people are wrong. And so that probably got about 4 or 5 extra chapters right at the end of it, which I just have a sticker under my head. I have no idea what's happening there. So that's the major change. There's one extra chapter early on, which I actually wrote for the Sisterhood, which is a POV from Martha early on in the book, one of the characters, and that got tidied up and put in.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to call it Forever After the Sisterhood chapter.
Sisterhood chapter, yeah, 14. And then the rest of it was getting to work with Anne and get her incredible brain on it, and Thorne as well. But you know, Anne was the first one to really look at it and go through it with a fine pen like I'd never seen anybody go through it before. And there were bits that she was like, okay, there's you know, some challenges with you know, one of the clues. I think we need to really make sure there's no holes here. So we expanded some sections. She made me fix things like my timeline. She said my timeline was complete. I mean, just to give you an example of how amazing Anne was, the very first thing she said to me in editing was, she said, look, you've set the date of the election, and that's you know, towards the end of the book, and you've said that the beginning of the book is on this date, July 1st, 2050. And in chapter 3, some massive news about the global election drops. But I've looked at that date in 2050, and that date would be a Sunday, and there's no way that news would drop on a Sunday. So we need to move that. You know, that's the level of detail that we started to go into, and really kind of digging deep into this book and trying to make sure that we really thought through all of the bits that sometimes you can't see as an author because you get too close to it all.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've always said from the get-go when we were pitching and promoting the indie version, we were blown away by how tight the narrative already was, and how much you could tell you had revised and cut all of the loose or just unnecessary bits. It just there were no wasted pages. So this makes me even more excited that you had your team on it and that you feel really happy with what you added back in, because I know how committed you are to keeping a very tight, clean narrative.
Yeah, it was never kind of like you know, adding stuff in just for the sake of it. But it was a bit like doing an extended. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, like, what's the difference? And I'm like, well, if you ever got to see Lord of the Rings in the cinema and then you have the extended edition at home, it's kind of a little bit like that, you know?
I love that.
which version do you want to read? Do you want to read the cinematic release or do you want to read the extended edition? Well, probably you'll go and watch the extended edition.
Oh yeah. So to be clear, you would say just read the traditional.
I would say the traditional is new and improved. I know people have a lot of love for the indie version. I think, obviously with the cover and everything else, and I see people still reading it all the time. And it's wonderful and it's amazing and it still stands, and that I have zero issues with it. I'm very proud of it. But I think the extra tidying that we were able to do, it's a better version. It's a new and improved version. The director's cut.
Amazing. It's so nice that you already had the skill and the talent all on your own to make such a beautiful piece of art. But I think all of us benefit so much when you have a team, different eyes, different perspectives. And so I'm so eager. I was checking my status because I pre-ordered, which every single one of you listening needs to go pre-order right now. Yeah. Because we are making Tom a bestseller again.
We have the ARC, but we wanted the hardback of the...
Well, I just want as many copies as possible. Like, I want all the copies. They're so stunning. But I can't wait to pick this up. I have my husband, who is really picky about books. And he's just like, what's a book that you just know I'm just going to like? Like, I don't want to waste my time. And I was like, literally Artificial Wisdom. Let's buddy read it. And I do think we're wink, wink thinking about in the Patreon family doing maybe some special artificial fun. Since that just was such a unicorn experience with Fable last time. And I'm so glad. I guess I didn't really realize how the feedback from readers chapter by chapter was such a benefit to you. I felt like you were doing everything for us, but I'm glad you got something from it.
This is totally a selfish experience. I feel the net beneficiary of it all. It was very, very useful for me. And I still go back to it. So actually, well, maybe less so now, but during that process of editing, I was going through Fable and checking what people had said about different bits. And just extraordinary as an author to get. I mean, we had maybe 450 readers, I think. Just to see some of the comments, to see when people were maybe guessing something too fast or that spun up a theory in a certain direction. Did I want to keep that? Did I want to nuance it? There was this a very small moment in the book, which occurs fairly kind of midway through, where Tully, one of the characters, kind of pecks one of the other characters on the cheek, and it spun off this wild kind of things about loads of theories that didn't really go away, and it was in retrospect a mistake, and I flipped it around. Actually, maybe it was the other way around to start with, and I flipped it around the other way, but I made some changes that I felt fixed, who Martha was as a character better, because she wasn't something that liked to be touched. This is the hard stuff as an author. When you're writing it, you don't always see everything. So
yes, and you were testing it out with a bunch of girls who are very hip to the romantic-y foreshadowing. So you have to watch for that with our crew.
As I think my wife would say, there's not very much romantasy in my book.
No.
I probably wish there was more.
We promised that we would open this time to, since we've gotten to ask a lot of questions, we promised we'd open it up to anyone who has questions. And a couple of them have already started, but guys, go ahead and leave your questions now in the chat if you want, and we'll get to what we can.
I really want to talk quickly as people are putting down the questions. Can we talk about, you had Stephen Casey do the audio for your indie publish, but you told us that you're using him again for try. Was he like, I have to read this book again? Or was he like, all right, let's go. What's the bonus features?
He was super delighted, Stephen. I mean, he's such a lovely guy anyway. And, I was nervous about it coming off, I'm in this strange world where I have, normally the author would never reach out to the narrator or maybe even meet them, but I have a relationship with Stephen. Like, we talk over text. And so, it was very strange because I know, obviously, Penguin Random House were doing their thing, their side, going through the right channels, going through the agent and everything else. But I also had Stephen going, hey, how's it going? Like, what? Here's the new version. And we were able to have a chat. And I'm like, yeah, really, of course we want to work with you again. There were so many fans of the first version. And in fact, the week I had to take it offline, the Audible version went pretty much viral. It was really annoying. I was featured in an Amazon sale. And the 2 weeks before, it was taken off. It suddenly went like that, and then it suddenly went off the cliff. It was like bang. Frustrating. But no, Stephen was great. He read it again. We met up again. I gave him some feedback on some of the accents, most of which were perfect. But I was like, okay, Bolivars I saw was slightly different, so I wanted to make a change to Bolivars. Everybody else's is good. Last time he played Bolivar as an English guy because I'd used the word bloody somewhere, and I was like, nah, he's definitely kind of, got a Latin American feel to him. It's New York Latin American, Venezuelan background, so I think you need to play him a bit more like that. So I'll be interested. I actually haven't got to hear the new, I'm seeing people talk about the arc. I haven't heard the new version yet. We can hear it with everybody else, so we'll see how it comes out, but I have lots of faith that he'll have done an incredible job.
And that comes out today as well. Your audiobook launches today.
For me, it will be in 2 days because I'm in the UK, so I get the UK version of Audible.
We get it first. Oh my God, so lucky.
Well, people have several questions for you, Tom. So take as long or as short as you want to answer them. It's possible we're not going to get to them all because
Tom spins off as a romantasy author. That's great.
Oh my goodness. It could happen. Okay, Mariana wants to know, any advice for someone looking to publish their own book? Do you suggest the indie or going the trad route?
There's no right answer. Both are hard in their own ways. Both are rewarding in their own ways. Trad is hard to break into. Like, it's really hard to break into. So, I have no regrets that I tried it first. Didn't quite get there because my book didn't fit neatly into any boxes. It really didn't. If I was publishing romantasy right now, that might have been snapped up straight away. There's so much demand for romantasy. So, I think it's always worth giving a go. With traditional, you don't have to think about a lot of things because you have incredible teams that are working, on stuff for you. With indie self-published, you have to do a lot of the heavy lifting yourself. But you have complete control over it as well, which is also fantastic. And if you're a series writer and you're writing quite quickly, that's potentially a massive advantage. So, that's what you're writing.
I feel like you're the blueprint for how to do it indie if someone does want to do it indie, because you were so good with strategy in ways that we don't often see. But
somebody wants you to talk about the book cover process. For indie or for trad? I don't know.
Well, they were related a little bit. So obviously the traditional one, I designed, so I worked with a designer, Mark from Nikon, who was incredible, and obviously did an amazing, amazing job. The second I saw his initial design for that, I knew that we had something really, really special. We tweaked it a little bit for the original indie paperback because we wanted the text to feel more accessible for book clubs and for female readers. We got some feedback that the original one was a bit masculine. I don't know, like sometimes you get this feedback and you're like, well, let's give it a try. But I was very happy with the paperback one.
That's the one our dad has. He loves it.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
When you are traditionally published, you are always told that you have zero control over the cover. And I didn't particularly find that to be true. It's true that I probably didn't have a final say, but the teams were super collaborative, on both sides. Del Rey were wonderful. They came back to me and said, hey, we've tried a whole bunch of covers, but we really love your indie cover. We love it, and we don't think we found anything that we like anymore. So what do you think about keeping it? And I said, well, I'm totally up for that because I adore it. But I think we should make some changes because otherwise people will find it confusing. Like from a visual perspective, when people are showing it online, people are going to wonder which version they have. And I went back to the original artist, not my cover designer, Mark from Nikon, but the guy who'd actually designed the face. I found that he'd also done a colored version of the face. And so I put together both a concept plan for this one and for the sequel, saying what they could both look like with this kind of artwork.
Cool.
And I didn't kind of expect them to take it on. I thought it might go into the kind of feeding kind of thing. And I got an email back a few days later going, yeah, we're going with that.
Amazing.
So, very, very delighted about that. With the UK version, they wanted to go a different route because they didn't want it to be too sci-fi. They wanted it to hit this bigger audience. They wanted it to feel like a big release, something that fitted, I don't know, Yellowface, I think, is a great example here in the UK, where the cover was incredibly iconic and it stood out and everybody knew it everywhere. And it just didn't look like anything else. It was highly original. And we wanted to do something that had that same kind of very highly original feel that nobody had seen anywhere. And so we've gone for this dual kind of basis. And this actually came from the advanced review copy, the marketing team. We had put it out thinking it was very cool because the first stage of the UK marketing plan was an election campaign. So they did a dual art cover with the manifesto inside, and it was just wonderful. And then it was received so well online that when my main editor in the UK, Thorne, went on maternity leave, and I was put with the most senior editor in the business, Bill, who did all of their big kind of launches. And Bill said to me, "Hey, I've got this idea. Stick with the election theme. We're going to make it bigger. We're going to put the barcode on the side because there's no, we don't want to ruin either side."
Oh,
very, very cool. And what do you think? And I said, I love it. And
I also love it. I'm like, all the copies.
Trade paperback kind of version, you know, so they'll do
Very cool. Oh, it's so fun when you read it too. Like, it makes it even that much more special. I feel like when you originally were doing like buttons and things and you had ideas for a marketing concept before you were traditionally published, I know you had always thought this was the best idea for marketing would be to play up the campaign between Solomon and the US runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, it's funny because this is the evolution of a red version that I did for the indie campaign. So it's very bizarre to see artwork that was kind of the indie artwork go in two different directions and end up on two different covers.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. I think in retrospect, and this is something I've been talking about recently on the marketing campaign, if I'd have realized we were going to do a dual cover, I might have not chosen a white male for both characters because I've got plenty of diverse, characters elsewhere. Martha, Solomon's creator, and Olivia and other people. I kind of felt like, it's a bit annoying to have two male characters on the cover, but it's too late to change that. I mean, you can't change everything. But that would be a change I would have made in retrospect had I have known that was going to be the direction we took with the market.
That's so interesting too, because I think there's probably discussion for book clubs to have around that this is set in 2050 and, it is, while it's something very different to have an AI running as a governing candidate.
Right.
And obviously Solomon could present as anything as an AI. But yeah, I think that is something that you intentionally have in the book, that he is very much running against the traditional idea of a patriarchal leader, from the US. And I think that you address all of those topics very well in the book. So, I think it'd be interesting for book clubs to just kind of look into the cover in that way and be like, isn't this interesting that maybe in 2050 we could think we'd be so advanced by then, but these are still our options. This is still what marketing looks like. Interesting.
Somebody said in the very first launch event I did was up in Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Bookstore, and the Hastings event, and the owner of the bookstore was listening to campaign videos we did for both candidates, and she came up to me afterwards and said, I love it. And I'll tell you why I love it, because both of those options suck. I'm like, yep.
But it just feels so relatable sometimes.
That's the world we're in right now, isn't it? Where all of your options kind of suck a little bit. And I had to write an essay for John Scalzi's blog yesterday. And it was, what's the big idea behind the book? And I said, look, the big idea is, as human beings, we tend to leave we bury our head in the sand for so long that when we finally take it out, the only options that are left to us are the bad ones. And if we'd have addressed things up front, then maybe we would have had more options, but we don't, and that's just our typical it's the thing we do as a species. It's what I did today, running around last minute trying to set up my technology instead of doing it 4 hours ago when I actually had time. We leave things at the last minute and then we don't have the microphone that we wanted to use. That's just how we act. It's wired into us. So
it's definitely a big theme in the book. I think it hits home.
Yeah. Let's see. What are some more
I
questions
love
we
this
can get
one.
into?
Why did you make the change between, in the indie version, Solomon is running for dictator,
Yeah.
but in your new version, I believe he's running
Like
as a protector?
I struggled with this one for years. I always loved this idea of dictator. It came from the Romans and how the Romans would use, would appoint a dictator in order to solve whatever crisis they were facing. When Hannibal was coming over the Alps, they had their two consuls, kind of running things day to day, but they would appoint a dictator who would have all of the resources and mandate to go and fix that problem and then hand power back until they didn't hand power back, which I think is a great theme and question that kind of hangs over it. So I was very attached to this idea of dictator. I'd had some editorial input along the way, not from Mark, my main coach, but from another reader saying she hated dictator. Like she thought it threw her out the story and that I should change it. And for a while I was playing with consult as another idea, and that didn't work for me. So I went back to dictator. When I started to work with Anne from C.Ray, Anne was, again, she's just brilliant at just thinking about these things. She said, look, get why you've done it. She said this right up front, by the way, in our actual call about the book, as to whether she was going to require the book. She said, I love everything about it. I don't love dictator, because I don't think we should be in any way kind of glorifying. I think we live in an age where democracy is precarious. And even though your book is pointing at the shift in these things, I think we just need to be careful. And I'm like, So then I had to go away and think about it. So what I ultimately chose was a word that had the same sound as protector, right? You've got things like director, protector, dictator. They all have the poor ending, which meant that I could still use it in the same way. To talk about a protectorship rather than a dictatorship. Protector instead of a dictator. So the word tonally sounds the same, and it relates to Cromwell's Lord Protectorship, where Cromwell here in the UK essentially deposed the king. They had the revolution, cut off Charles I's head, and then Cromwell had his Lord Protectorship. And the Lord Protectorship was the overarching, person who was going to get the country back to where it should be. In that sense, that was a religious reasons and governance reasons. But I felt it had a nice historical fit to it as well.
Well, I feel like it worked. I think it worked.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. What else do we have?
Tell us something without spoiling that we won't understand until after we've finished the book.
Without spoiling that you won't understand until after you've finished your book.
That's a good question.
I mean, once you finish the book, you'll know what we mean when we reference New Carthage.
Yeah. There's
a lot of like world building stuff that we'll just like casually reference now when we talk about the book, and you'll know what that is.
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm struggling on that one because I have so many layers in my head about like not spoiling things for people. So
you have to be so careful because we hate spoilers. What inspired you to write Artificial Wisdom? Where do you get your ideas? Where did you get your ideas for it?
A lot of places. I think, obviously you have some things that you're seeing going on in the world that inspire you, good and bad. And for me, it was a lot about the polarization that happened after things like Brexit and the US elections of 2016. How easy it is to manipulate public opinion using the technology of today, and how that's going to change tomorrow. What kind of world that we wanted to leave for our children. A lot of questions and worries that I had. But also, a lot of things where you're like, I would really love to write a futuristic murder mystery. We have so many things like Agatha Christie writing wonderful novels set in glorious ages where the best technology they had was the telegram, and it could never really get in the way of solving a good mystery. But what if technology made it harder to solve a murder rather than easier? What if, here's an answer to your previous question. What if your cleaning bots tidied up your murder scene? Like, what if they do away with the evidence? Like, how does that change the nature of the murder?
That's a good one, actually. That's so good.
Here's a fun one. I kind of scrolled down to the bottom so that we could get a mix of things. Someone asked, what was your reading first love in sci-fi or in another genre?
Well, the easy answer for me in sci-fi is Ender's Game, and I talked about it literally just the other day on TikTok. Again, I think my second video on Ender's Game. It has always been my favorite sci-fi book. As much for I think it's two things, and actually I heard, Brandon Sanderson sums it up best for me, actually, which is he says the Ender's Game works because it is an underdog sports movie at its heart, but wrapped up as a space opera, which is totally true. The battle scene stuff for me, the battle room stuff for me, the team, their army fighting against each other, the underdog, which is Ender, overcoming all of his challenges and being victorious. Those are the really cool bits. But then followed by a massive twist that makes you reimagine everything, which stayed with me. And I remember when I first read that book, going back and instantly starting it again because I needed to understand how he pulled it off. So definitely Ender's Game, Ender's Shadow in parallel to it as well.
Yeah. I still need to read Ender's Shadow. We did that one with our Patreon book club. That was pretty epic. Such a great story.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to talk about book 2.
Yeah.
We obviously are so excited for our book 1 coming out today, but as we mentioned,
everybody
excited.
Go order it right now.
Yes, everybody, we are very determined that Artificial Wisdom absolutely deserves to be a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
So that all comes down to timing. That means buy your book this week.
Not next week.
Those are the numbers they count for bestseller. Anyways, but your publishing deal was a 2-book deal, which means are we allowed to say the title?
No, not the title yet.
Damn it. Okay.
Reveal, sadly.
We won't say what the title is. Anyways.
It's really hard for me.
I know, me too.
Well, so just tell us, I know you probably can't go into a lot of it, but just tell us what it's been like writing book 2. It's not like you rewrote book 1, but you did have to spend a lot of time, like you said, with your new editor, getting this one the way you all wanted it to be traditionally published. And then you've been blasting off in book 2.
Which the deadline is this month, right? Next month, September. Yeah, okay.
All right. We'll send prayers.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers. How's it going?
It's going well, but it's been a hell of a journey. Like, it's been really intense. I feel sometimes that I'm living in just half my day in a completely different world, which must be really annoying for my family. I've been intensely writing this since the day we signed the deal. I mean, I can't even remember what date it was. July last year, let's say. And I kind of got to the stage where by Christmas I had 150,000 words done, a first draft of it. That was from having been at a starting point where I'd known what beginning I wanted for years, and I knew what ending where I wanted to get to, but I didn't know what the middle was when I was starting in July. So I worked that out, found something I was happy with, really liked it, had something in my head, and finished it by Christmas and was exhausted. I was absolutely like, I am done. I cannot even say, I couldn't write another word. It was like it had drained out of me. But I was really happy with some of the stuff in there. Some really cool ideas that emerged during the course of the writing that I didn't know about. And super happy. My writing coach Mark did a first look at it. He always does a first look at my work over Christmas, and tidied up some of the stuff that was really around pacing of the beginning and the end, and delivered it as a second draft into the edit. And they came back with some amazing comments and ideas around it. But the more and more I looked at it, the more I realized that we were telling the wrong story. That I'd had one thing in mind that was really cool, but actually the real interesting stuff was coming in towards the end, and it would be a much more powerful story if I took some of those interesting bits at the end and pulled them right to the beginning and integrated them with the world. This is always a big question for me, by the way, because actually one of the things I like to do sometimes is some of the starting assumptions that I make about the world, to take them out and pull them out as a twist and make somebody believe something different, right? So this time I did it the other way around. That unfortunately meant that a lot of the core bits, particularly around my Act 2 and 3, needed throwing out, and I needed a load of stuff integrated back into it. I needed a heavier rehash of Act 1, so I basically had to start again from 0 words. But knowing some better ideas, knowing some better thoughts, having spent already months in the heads of these characters and knowing them inside out. So it's not been as painful, but it's, you know, it's inspiring getting to the end of it. And I always find this bit towards the end of the book where you start to flag a little bit, and you have to remember that actually you've got to find each scene. You've got to love writing that scene, and you can't just be trying to go, oh God, I've just got to get through this bit, because otherwise that will come through in the text. Yeah. So I'm going to be super happy to hand in the next draft. There will be more editing, obviously, to take place once I hand it in, but I'm going to hit my deadline. I'm determined on that. And I'm so close now to getting it in. I'm really happy. I think it's going to be the Terminator 2 to my Terminator. It's going to be the slightly bigger, slightly more epic version. But fundamentally, the things that people loved in the first version, I've tried to recreate. That sense of mystery and that sense of an interesting world that has probably moved on more in the 5 years between the books than it had in the 25 years between now and the first.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. As soon as there's a release date, I'm going to freak out.
Well, and I'm just like, kudos to you. Thank you. Like, we're so grateful that you did a rewrite. I think I don't know. I think that sometimes authors either trying to make their deadline or who just don't have, they don't have that stamina or whatever it is in them to go back and do a rewrite when what they've got is good enough or they like it. I'm just glad that you went back and revised it. I mean, I think that's your gift to the readers.
Could be like a tad of perfectionism, but as a reader, we love that.
We love that. You can tell. It's what sets your book apart. Like, you can tell that it has been so tightened.
Yeah. That's, I mean, my agent raised his eyebrows and went, this is going to be a lot of work, Like, when I told him I was pivoting. We're pivoting. We're going in a slightly different direction. And he's like, all right.
Yep.
But you know what? If you're going to put work out into the world and you have it within you, it's like, just do it right. Just do it right the first time, or the second or third or fourth time. But don't put it out there until it's right. I love that so much. I know, like, I can trust that we're going to get some good entertainment and some good discussions out of your book.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be even more thought-provoking conversations. We'll see. Hopefully, you just got to hope. I mean, this is the weird thing about being a writer is you're saying something. It's like you're taking a magic spell to try and take this idea that you have in your head and put it in other people's heads. And you sometimes don't know whether it's going to land until people start to read it. But I've got people who are going to be obviously going through it for me, and I've got an amazing team in the editors, both at Transworld and Bantam and Del Rey. So I'm pretty confident.
Amazing. Okay, we have a couple of bestseller questions coming in for you, Tom.
Okay.
So, questions around, number one, do your Kindle sales or your Audible sales contribute to bestseller status?
I don't think they do. Because, so certainly for the New York Times list, they're looking at print sales.
Print sales? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you'll probably just need both or all three, There's a time and place for everything.
We strongly recommend an immersion read because Stephen Pacey is the best. There's another question.
I'm very grateful for, if anybody buys any format, I'm super grateful. So, don't feel obliged.
There was a bit of chatting about the people who absolutely love your original cover, the black.
Yeah.
So we would like to figure out who we can petition when this is, it blows up and it's a huge bestseller and the movie rights are sold and everybody wants the movies coming out and everything. Maybe we should do a 5 or 10 year anniversary with the all black cover.
I like that.
The all black cover for your anniversary edition.
Yeah, with nice sprayed edges and
foiling.
Yeah, definitely. Always foiling.
Maybe the end pages could be the campaign posters too, because we love the campaign posters.
Yeah, like an integrated special edition.
Yeah.
We had to be very nice to Del Rey to pull this off, but
we can do it. We'll
say we the people voted.
It's not in my hands, it's in your hands.
It's a petition. Yeah, we have to say it. I mean, the covers are so gorgeous. I mean, obviously this is going to be a classic, so I think in the year 2050, it'll have to be one of those, like, of course, we get the 25th anniversary edition in 2050.
Maddie, don't even talk about that. 25 years from now, jeez. Somebody said, Tom, we need to know how to get a signed copy, but actually, guys, this live will be going on our YouTube channel, so that if anybody couldn't make it today, we still want them to get to hear this conversation and get excited and get to know Tom. So we will be announcing on our YouTube some info about some signed copies.
It's going to be a giveaway.
And you might be getting the UK edition so that you can still pre-order, get your US edition, but also it'd be fun to get, Tom's in the UK, get the UK edition with his signature would be really fun.
As a little collector's item. Yeah, so we'll have some giveaway info up on YouTube probably later this week.
Yeah, just keep an eye out. We'll post it, and then you guys can go hang out in there and see how you can enter to win, okay?
Yeah, we'll put reminders in our stories and stuff if you guys are looking out for it. And then...
Aw, congrats on the re-release.
Yes.
Woohoo! People are pumped about the signed edition. Glad to know.
Is there anything else on your happy birthday day of release that you wanted to share, Tom, before we sign off?
I think the main thing I want to share to everybody is just how important the community of people that have got behind this book has been to it. Like it's here today because you guys all embraced it. Everybody that read it first time around, everybody that did a review of it, everybody that posted a comment on somebody else's review saying that they'd enjoyed it, everybody that obviously bought a copy, and in some cases, and I'm looking at MK if she's in the chat somewhere, bought every copy, bought multiple different versions. This is what got it here. Because if it hadn't have been for that, I couldn't have made the leap. So, I'm incredibly grateful, and probably don't have the words, ironically enough, as an author to express really just how blown away I was by the absolute swelling of fan support first time round. I felt for the first time that I'd found this community that was just incredibly generous around it all. So yeah, I wanted to really just say thank you to everybody that bought it first time around, everybody that supported it on the way. Some amazing people that have stayed in touch or have, are writers, authors themselves that have promoted it. I can see Cadence in the chat as well, and TK Oldfield has been wonderful. Jordan Fitch, like a load of really great indie authors that have really got behind the book as well. Very grateful to them all.
We are so grateful too, because obviously we were very obsessed with getting a book too. And so
we get it now.
We get it, and you're going to be giving it to us fast. So yeah, we're also so grateful and blown away by the sister, because it's, we can believe in something and be really excited about it, but we want to see it succeed, and we can't make it do that on our own. And so we just love that the sisterhood trusts us, and they all feel as passionately as we do that we want to see great books on the shelves for everyone. And we want books to be discoverable by people who maybe aren't on Book Talk and who just love to go into the shops and browse. We want those books to be front and center. We want them to be on the end caps where people will find them. So that's the power of a community. We're so grateful to the sisters.
And some of those people have been sending me shots of the book in Barnes and Nobles.
That's so exciting.
Awesome. Like imagine being here in my, in my little village just outside London, seeing it on a store in Illinois. I mean, it's really, really cool.
So fun.
And you deserve it. Oh my gosh. So giddy for it.
So here's our little, end treat for anyone who is buying books today, has bought the book this week, and is doing their first read or wants to do a 1-year reunion reread. We are going to have a private spoilery little chat with Tom at the end of the month. So you'll definitely you'll want to have read the book by then. So we're giving you the month and everything. But through September, feel free to read. We'll have more details in our Patreon. And then within Patreon, we will do a private little recap with Tom, a video call with him where you guys will have full access to him.
and we can chat all things with spoilers. That will be really fun at the end of September. So that's something to look forward to for all of you.
I'll do it as I did the first time that we did this, because we did this after Fable as well. But I'll do an updated reading of one of the first chapters of the new one as well for anybody that joins that.
Yes.
Oh, that's so special.
Well, we have to powwow and get our logistics in order of what all the things we want to do for those who are doing the trad release read.
But it's one of those stories. Well. It's like one of those stories that you really want to have spoiler conversations. So like we're getting hype right now, but it's like, just wait until you know what we know. Then you just want to talk about it.
Well, yeah, the end is quite as you said, a mic drop where you're just like, gonna need to discuss this immediately.
And we'll get to all experience, those of us who read it in Fable within the first time, how it's changed. I'm so excited for I guess this is my third time reading it in about a year.
Yeah. The third reread. But it's a little different. We have our extra sisterhood chapter in there. We have extra chapters at the end. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, and there's a bonus chapter in the hardback edition as well. Like there's an extra bonus chapter from Lockwood's perspective, the US president. So like that's hardback exclusive.
Very fun.
Oh, we're so pumped.
Very fun.
Thank you, Tom, for giving us time on your publishing birthday. We're so excited for you. We're cheering you on in our brains. Obviously, you know you're a bestseller. You're the coolest. You're an icon. You're a legend.
Yes.
And we're just so grateful that you're putting out good books for us readers. Thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you so much, Hey. It's been great to join you again.
Okay, Yay! Be sure to update us on numbers when they come in next week. We want an update.
As soon as I know.
Okay, have a great rest of publication day.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Bye. Bye.